Before we get into the video, I've got to tell you about the OneFootball app. If you're a fan of football at all, then this app is a must. You can get specific content for whichever team you support, including short videos, score updates and news. Also, you can keep an eye on players you love from across the globe to see how they're doing. It's been a great help for researching players as OneFootball cares about both the modern and retro game. Make sure to download it using the link in the description below and start keeping up with your favoured club and players on a whole different level. Denilson de Oliveira was born in the Sao Paulo municipality of Diadema on the 24th of August 1977. By the age of 17, he had broken into Sao Paulo's senior side, and throughout his first 2 seasons, the selectors for the national team had identified him as a one to watch, leading to them handing the 19-year-old the famed yellow shirt. Part of an exciting generation that starred some of the world's greats-to-be, Denilson was dubbed Canhoteiro, the left-footed one, in reference to José Ribamar de Oliveira, an icon of 1950s Sao Paulo, who had previously held the nickname. In his hometown, the winger started to settle and grow as a player, flexing his technical dribbling skills and regularly getting on the score sheet. With an immaculate first touch, deceiving shoulder drops and lightning acceleration from stationary, he was a standout for Tricas, averaging more than a 50% scoring ratio from the left flank. Though locally renowned as a lefty, he was more than capable on his right, which improved throughout his Sao Paulo tenure, driving home stunners from distance or subtly finding the pocket in one-on-one scenarios. Less than 6 months after making his debut for Seleção, he appeared in the 1997 Copa America and Confederations Cup as a frequent member of the starting 11. In a group that boasted Ronaldo, Romario, Roberto Carlos, Juninho and Cafu, the young Denilson was more than able to keep up, and he gelled with his compatriots perfectly as a key player in Brazil's dominant squad. The South Americans powered through the tournament, with the wide attacker contributing 2 goals on the road to the finals, before providing a couple of assists versus Bolivia in the concluding match of the Copa America. A 6-0 landslide in the Confederations final hinted that this selection had something special about them, in the shining future of which the energetic wonder kid was expected to feature. Months passed, and the obvious choice was made by Mario Zagallo, choosing Denilson for his 1998 World Cup squad. In the weeks preceding his journey to France, the 20-year-old saw his global status soar, cast in Nike's Aeroporto advert for the summer tournament, which is now a thing of legend. The 2-minute trailer features him, Ronaldo and co playing samba street football around an airport while being chased by guards and dodging the public. Airport 98 was viewed globally and has been branded as a masterpiece ever since by football fanatics. The hype around his name was compounded in the summer when, just before France 98 commenced, Spanish side Real Betis announced their signing of Denilson. Club president Manuel Ruiz de la Pera was looking to kickstart a new era for Los Verdiblancos with a marquee signing that would plaster Real Betis across the front page of worldwide newspapers. Really still just a boy from Diadema, his first transfer had shattered the world record fee previously set by Ronaldo's Inter move in '97, with a £21 million price tag. No matter from what perspective the world saw this headline, it was a shock. As much as the fee, his club choice was confusing, as bigger Spanish clubs and even Manchester United had pushed for his signature. Then, when it came to the cost, things didn't add up. Comparatively, O Fenomeno had proved his worth with an unbelievably prolific season for Barcelona, and Alan Shearer, whose record Ronaldo outdid, had won the Premier League title as Blackburn's marksman. Whereas Denilson, though promising and perhaps seen as an investment in his talent, Betis had not seen the winger excel at high level, but instead in the more comfortable Brazilian Serie A. They had impulsively shelled out more than ever before in their history for an underproved kid. Yet, before he could get his exciting new Spanish start underway, he had to make his World Cup debut. Despite the praise from his apparent bestie Ronaldo, who tipped Denilson to be the star of the tournament, Zagallo had doubts about the winger as a starter. He offered Canhoteiro just one start in the group stage, which the world champions lost to Norway, although he assisted Bebeto's opener. In the lasting 25 minutes of their first knockout fixture, he acted as provider again to send Chile packing. Denilson was battling for a starting spot with Leonardo, who Zagallo preferred for his tighter system, and Real Betis' new star was reduced to the bench for the remainder of the tournament. Still, he earned some invaluable minutes on the global stage, bringing some energy to the left flank in the second half against Denmark and the Netherlands, both of whom the Brazilians narrowly overcame to face the hosts in the final. The spot he craved was yet again occupied by the AC Milan trequartista, but by the time of his second half introduction, the South American spirit had faded. Zinedine Zidane had headed France to a 2-0 lead by the first whistle, a deficit that Brazil struggled to recover. Denilson clearly added to the team in his 45 minutes, creating promising chances, including a late crossbar hit. However, the lead was uncatchable, crowning France world champions for the first time in their history. The understandable heartbreak for a young Brazilian after missing out on the biggest trophy in football couldn't engulf Denilson, who flew to Spain to get settled in his new city. Now facing high expectations and underneath an official valuation that would hang above him until he proves his worth, the Spanish challenge would ultimately define him. Noting that he felt warmth and adoration from the club and its group of supporters, his debut in the green and white shirt came in late August 1998. His rather abject performances in these openers may have been down to nerves and pressure to perform, but nonetheless, the €50,000 per week man was off key throughout the campaign. Allotted the freedom he craved, Denilson was deployed on the left, behind the striker, and at the head of the midfield diamond in an attempt to find form, but to no avail, scoring only twice himself and providing another couple in the 3,000 plus minutes he played across all competitions that year. His inconsistency was reflected by Betis, who fell to 11th by May, their lowest finish since 1991 relegation, something that the club not only fought to prevent, but wanted to bounce back from and challenge for the European spots. Denilson was seen as the trigger for this, identified as a possible talisman, boots he was ill-equipped to fill, and in the 1999-2000 season, disaster struck. 18 losses plunged them into the relegation zone, and from the summer of 2000, the new Garrincha would be a feature of the Segunda Division. Participating merely 3 goals in this dreadful year sealed Denilson's spell with the Andalusians as a flop, reaffirmed by his loan to Flamengo in August. The two-pronged reason for this was so that Betis could save money on his demanding wage, and for Denilson, who wanted to get on the radar of Luis Felipe Scolari in time for the 2002 World Cup. During his homeland return, the winger rediscovered himself and was more prolific in less time, bagging 4 goals in 17 appearances while enjoying his game again in Rio de Janeiro. Perhaps shorter than intended, Flamengo couldn't match his salary to make the loan anything but a short-term one, lasting until the new year of 2001, when he resumed his European career in Seville. Los Verdiblancos closed out the year as runners-up to their intercity rivals Sevilla to win promotion back into La Liga, which, though great for the club, didn't spell out a positive message for Denilson, who occupied the Betis bench for most of the next 4 years. Scolari was convinced by Denilson, who had edged his way onto the plane for East Asia. However, this time, any news surrounding the Betis midfielder was more negative, questioning whether his place was deserved. The manager incorporated wingbacks to patrol the flanks, but also help in defence, making the winger futile in Scolari's system. And while the offensive trio of Rivaldo, Ronaldo and Ronaldinho spearheaded Seleção through the tournament, Denilson watched on from the sidelines. The favourites became finalists, helped by the winger, who came on for a quarter of an hour versus Turkey in the semis to waste time and generate his most famous image. Nothing changed for the final, as he wasn't selected for the starting 11, merely a spectator, as Ronaldo beat Khan on 2 separate occasions to better Germany for the trophy. At the centre of Brazil's jubilant celebrations was the Real Betis man, whose feeble contributions to a squad that he was lucky to be a part of had placed a winner's medal around his neck, adding him to an illustrious list of World Cup winners. Sadly, it was his last true hurrah as a player, especially in the yellow jersey, as he was dropped in 2003 when Carlos Alberto Pereira took over, never to wear it again. Season by season, the 27-year-old's standing in the squad progressively worsened, reduced to a fringe player by 2004, when Betis actually achieved the level that had been expected of them 6 years prior, climbing to a 4th place Champions League finish and lifting the Copa del Rey. Stepping foot on the grass for an embarrassing 290 minutes in all, not a second of which contributed to their silverware triumph, he received the message, and Betis offloaded their most expensive purchase to date with a bittersweet taste in their mouth. The free-playing approach of Denilson hadn't mixed with the more strategic and formulaic ways of high-level European football, realising the worst fears of journalists who raised an eyebrow when the transfer news broke. Bordeaux were happy to offer the South American a shot at Ligue 1 football for the 2005-06 campaign. Slow at first, his second half of the year was better, balancing his output with 3 goals and 3 assists across 15 matches. Verging on a possible resurgence, a blocker was wedged between he and the French club, again involving his money, as his idea of what's fair was too steep and negotiations collapsed. Aged 27, in the years that he should be hitting his prime, Denilson essentially became a novelty act, hopping from Saudi Arabia to Dallas to Vietnam to Greece on the search for the biggest check while chewing away at his value. In January 2009, Bolton Wanderers arranged a trial for him, with a permanent contract waiting should he impress, which would have been an interesting chapter in his nomadic career. The 30-year-old received great praise from manager Gary Megson, who commented on all but his footballing ability, saying that he's a great person with no ego. Nevertheless, the document was never even offered, as the Englishman was unconvinced, preferring the average likes of Matty Taylor and Ricardo Gardner, telling a lot about the Brazilian's waning quality. Desperate to squeeze as much as possible out of his dying career, he averaged just 9 appearances per club in this later stage, eventually bringing his 16-year time as a professional to an underwhelming end. A sombre tale that's been told before, Denilson's journey for footballing greatness was both short and unsuccessful. Considering the immense natural gifts he demonstrated in his teenage years, the man once christened the Next Garrincha could have stitched himself more prominently into the rich tapestry of Brazilian football. As a more diminutive creative player who learned his trade on the streets of Brazil, dribbling was the heart of his game. Quick thinking and annoyingly tricky to play against, Denilson employed his samba flair to embarrass his opponents, no matter how intimidating the name. Pacey and agile as well, the winger maintained his equilibrium at times when it seemed impossible, and always stretched for that final touch to beat the man. Common in stories of rags to riches, when the spotlight found him, everything crumbled, and we never got to see the Denilson we were promised. With the chance to restart his career, he prioritised economics and relaxed into a peripatetic lifestyle, in chase of the largest cash grab which butchered such rich potential. Whether it was his choices, the pressure, or the greed, the young man who chose style over substance will remain known to some, but less for who he was and more for what he could have been.